All right, I will call to order the July 14th regular meeting of the Dayton City Council. Stand for the pledge, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I need a motion and a second for the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any adjustments?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, from the agenda, just to make sure that everyone got it, we did update the website, but we're looking to add item S to the agenda for accepting a resignation of a firefighter. That was provided on the website and also provided to the council prior to the meeting.
Any other changes?
No, thank you.
Okay, I need a...
You have a motion, you have a second.
Yep, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. On to consent, I need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Yes, Scott, discussion.
I had a minor, just a typo. I don't know if it's been fixed already. For item C, yeah,
Anola?
the Enola Alliance.
Oh, yes. Yep. Sorry about that.
Very minor.
Yep. It's Anoka, if you're wondering.
But it is Anoka and not the Dayton Lions?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Dayton Lions weren't available.
Okay. So yeah, I had those two questions, which.
Any other comments?
Item D, I'm just wondering, there was a list of items that were needed, including sound system and heater and community center and also I think the McNeil Park. Have those been part of previous year requests? I don't remember.
They have. That request hasn't changed. I think the activity center is really only utilized for the parking, and the inside of the building hasn't been used.
Okay.
And then I think long ago there used to actually be baseball games played along this. I don't believe that's done any longer, but so it's possible.
Just a maximum list.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the sound system, that's something we've provided in the past?
correct. And the generator, yep.
All right.
And also in the packet, I believe it said that we wanted to charge for the police time,
No, they're asking for the fees to be waived. Yep.
but I thought staff recommended that we charge for it.
Staff didn't have a recommendation. I think there was a price in there of an estimate of what those services would cost to give you an idea of what you're waiving. And I gave you that budgeted amount because there is that line item in the budget to waive fees for events within the city.
Right.
So those numbers get billed back to that other
Correct, yep.
line item in the budget?
Correct, yep. So then what we do is we just charge out as normal, and then what'll happen is we just make a journal entry to move it to that one line item, so we take away the staff time and whatever else of those things that happen, and the rentals and the whatnot. So that way council's aware of what the dollars are.
Yeah, I'm just on the same page. We've approved it all, and we've waived it all in the past. So
Correct.
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't see no reason to change now.
Yeah, there is nothing different than
Different.
previous
Yeah.
applications. It's just a different individual.
Correct.
That's it.
And my understanding was in the past, we didn't necessarily track the dollar value. And now the change is not that we're not approving it, the change is that we're actually tracking how much it's costing us.
We
And
tracked it for the
Yeah,
last
mayor,
couple of years.
yeah, mayor and council, that started in 25.
Okay.
But during 24, when we were discussing the 25 budget, that's when the discussion happened about we should have a dollar amount available, at that time to say, here's how much we can waive in fees, so we're not just, not tracking what the waiving is. And we have not gone over that dollar amount since we've put that in
Okay.
place.
Okay.
Any other?
Yeah, I guess I had one other question. Marty, this relates to item F, the pay app for LC Stevens canoe launch. And you've got a spreadsheet that's on page 29 of our packet. I'm wondering if you did some rounding there or something, because when I go through the math, it doesn't quite work.
Okay. Yeah,
Did I miss?
I don't have a good answer for you. I may have made a mistake in that. I can go back and double check
Yeah,
that.
if you wouldn't mind taking a look at that.
No,
I
that's
mean,
fine.
it doesn't, I don't think it changes it in a big way, but
Okay. I will check into that, David. Thank you.
Councilmember Fashion, just to make sure I understand, that one's the one with like the orange highlighting, correct? Or is that the one on the previous page?
Yes,
The one with the orange highlighting?
with the 2 lines
Okay.
for project balance and contingency.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Make sure I got the right number, thank you.
All right, any other comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. Open forum response, do we have any this time? Not for those.
Anything on mine?
I don't think anybody else.
No,
had
no,
one.
he's
The
looking for
responses.
the
Oh.
responses.
Nope, there is no
okay.
responses, I apologize. Nope.
Okay, on the open forum, limited to 3 minutes for non-agenda items. State your name and address. No council action will be taken. Items will be referred back to staff. Anybody here for open forum? Name and address, and then,
Vicki Violet, Anoka, Minnesota, and I am here representing the Anoka Lions.
oh, okay.
So, thank you, Mayor, council, staff, and Chief. The reason I'm here is because it's the first time we've attempted to pull a permit, one-day permit with the city of Dayton. We have worked outside of the city of Anoka on several occasions, but I like to make sure that if there are any questions regarding our competency and what we will be giving back to the city of Dayton, because we don't come here to sell the beer and the wine to members of the city and not expect that that money goes back. So I do know that there's a couple of members from the Heritage Days that are here also, and we'll be working out those items once we know that we got a permit. And I appreciate that you've approved it on your consent agenda, but if you had any questions for me, I'm here. And I've already exchanged some emails with the police chief and his lieutenant.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Anybody else here for open forum?
Hello again, Mayor and Council. I'm Tony Albright, 14101 Berkshire Lane North in Dayton. I have heard from some of the neighbors who are potentially going to be neighbors of the water tower at McNeil Park, and they have expressed concern that nobody has come to talk to them. And so they asked, because they know that I come to the meetings, if I would bring that up and ask the city to come and approach them for that. So I don't know if there's a process in place for approaching neighbors to say, hey, we're considering this site for the water tower, but I just wanted to bring that out and see if the city could take some action on that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody online?
If you wanted to speak in open forum, if you can use the raise your hand function.
All right, we will move on then. Staff consultant council updates. Zach?
Mayor, members of council, I do not have any updates today. Thank you very much. Short and sweet.
I do not have any updates tonight either.
Sweet. Marty?
I have a couple of updates. The band shelter is in production with Polygon, so that's coming along. The schedule for getting the bids out, we're looking to award the bids in September. There should be plans for city review at the next council meeting. August 12th, we should have final specs and have that in front of the council after that. And looking to bid the project on August 13th through the 27th. The canoe kayak launch contractor has started out on that at LC Stevens with stockpiling materials, bringing equipment to site. Tree and brush has been removed and complete erosion control devices have been installed, which does include a curtain in the Mississippi River. Well 4 update. The pump has been ordered. We did go through some additional efforts on sizing that correctly to make sure that the wellhead treatment plant wasn't causing any problems with that. That should be delivered this week, and hopefully we can get it installed this week and have that back up and running by early next week.
Does the old pump carry any value? The old pump, do they?
I haven't heard anything back on that yet. They're still working on that. So I will talk with them about, what they did find out from there. But we've been working on sizing and getting that right first time. We're currently within our capacity. As of yesterday, we're pumping 1.4 million gallons a day. So we've got a little bit of a easement there. So that's all I have.
Was the size of the pump changed, based on our
Yeah, we've got a
conversation?
smaller size pump. I think the bigger pump, we were operating outside of its range, and that seems to have been what caused the problems within there. Either it wasn't getting enough coolant around it, or it was vibrating, or something like that. So I haven't got an exact answer there, but looking at the curve, the operating curve, it was well outside of that. So the new one should be within it.
So this is going to be from memory, but when we got that pump, we realized the capacity of that well was higher.
Yep.
And we bumped up the capacity of the well.
Yep.
And then you pulled
How
the
did
sand.
they miss? Huh?
Then they pulled all the sand.
Yeah, and then there was a sand issue.
Yeah.
But so did they? Based on our usage, seems like they should have caught that
When we did the last,
when we
when we did the sand thing, and
I mean before that when we bumped up the size of the well.
yep.
Is
So
that
we
right, Cole?
sized it on what the test pumping was there.
Yep.
And that gave us, I think it was above 1,200, but we felt comfortable going with the 1,200 gallons per minute.
Yep.
And the water quality at that time was good coming out of there, and we figured that bigger pump was what we needed. So we did spend money and upsize it from an 800 gallons per minute that was originally recommended to a 1,200. And then that all changed once we started pulling the sand and all that other stuff happened. And to keep the sand out of the thing, we can operate at a lower speed.
Right. Okay. I wonder if that's a common problem or something. Okay, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Just an update. We did complete 1 month of duty crew for the month of June. 28 duty crew calls, 24 all calls, and 9 medical teams calls. 4 of the all calls were upgraded calls from duty crew. So just kind of give you a brief synopsis of what we did for June.
Chief.
Evening, Mayor, members of the council. The department went through scenario-based training last week. We're looking to do another one for council next year. So we'll look forward to that.
Sean.
Thank you. I'm expecting to get an application soon for a concept plan for a manufacturing company with a very tight deadline for construction. To meet that schedule, I'd like to have a work session with the Planning Commission on the July 28th council meeting.
What is this?
It's a concept plan for a manufacturing facility.
Okay.
So this would be in place of the long-term plan discussion that you guys finished up earlier today. Thank you.
Chief. No updates, sir. Scott.
We got a little bit. Marty. Nice job on the band show. You shocked me there. I was sure it was going to be 27. Also, kudos for getting the trail on South Diamond taken care of. That big hole with the cone in it. I was going to ask you about it, but all of a sudden I seen the guys out fixing it. Also, another big one, the sidewalks. I seen some concrete going down.
Oh, downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice job there, too. And I'll also give a shout out to the Dayton Lions for refurbishing the antique signs coming into Dayton with a coat of paint. It didn't cost nothing. They look way better.
Did they just do that?
Yeah.
Because I thought I was by, well, I know I've been by the one on Fernbrook recently, and I thought it was still kind of.
That one needs a pole.
bent and
It needs a
fallen.
new pole in it.
Okay.
They didn't fix the pole, but maybe we got an old 4x4 pole in, or we can go fix it. I think that is about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your nickel.
I got two things. One is just a reminder that absentee voting and early voting for the primary has started. Can you, Amy, clarify, because we've changed the early voting time frame, correct?
Yep,
Can you clarify what that is for the primary?
So voting will start July 24th, it's a Friday, for early voting, and that's here at City Hall. So currently, the 46 days has already started, so anyone can go to Hennepin County and vote. You can request a ballot by mail. If you've requested a ballot by mail or received a ballot, you're able to drop it off here within the envelopes, and we're able to receive those. But we can't start issuing ballots until July 24th, and that will go all the way up until the day before Election Day. We also have additional hours on Saturday, August 8th, available for voting from 9 to 3.
Thank you. And just a reminder, there's no city anything on the primary, but there are still...
There's still a primary
There's other
election
stuff.
for other...
Yes, yeah. And if you're like me, I have never in my adult life gone to vote and not at least have one option where I like, that's it. Day-old sushi or a wilted salad. And your chance to have other options is at the primary. So just a reminder to people, vote in your primary. It is important and it matters. And the timing has changed, which is why I wanted to clarify that. So that was my first thing. My second thing is I went to the watershed meeting, and this company, Bolton and Menck, has been working with some of the cities. They worked with Maple Grove and Plymouth to kind of test run a low-salt design checklist. And both cities reported that it was super helpful, particularly on the Planning Commission at the very early stages. And I recall from my own time on the Planning Commission, I believe it was the Parkway neighborhood, we kind of asked vaguely, like, well, where's the snow going to go, right? And like, winter, do you have a plan for that? And they were like, yeah, kind of. And that was the extent of it. And this is just kind of a more intentional thought process about where, like, don't put your snow up here if your parking lot is graded this way, because then on every warm day in winter or sunny day, the snow is going to melt and you're going to have a sheet of ice in your parking lot and you're going to have to ice the parking lot. Or one terrible design, they put the drain in the ADA stall. So so they made the iciest stall like your handicap stall. Like just think ahead a little bit. Don't accidentally create a snow fence with your shrubs so that the wind is going to come and dump all of the snow, and so you're going to constantly have to, plow your sidewalks every time. So they're just little checklist things to think about. And the two cities who used it reported that the developers and the builders were actually very grateful to have this list of things to think about in advance before they've actually set things out. So this would definitely be a planning commission stage, not at a city council stage. So I will be sending this to John, and I would ask that you send it out to the planning commission, because it is just a really nice it's two-sided, but a nice one-page, two-sided checklist. And if you want to, we could either have the people from Bolton and Menck come and give their presentation. I could probably do the same thing in about 5 minutes, so I'd be happy to come to a planning commission meeting. But there's just, like I said, a lot of it's just common sense stuff that you don't think about until it's too late, and now it's already in, and now you're dealing with a constant issue every year in winter where you could have done a little bit of thought on the front end and avoided a lot of extra salt and plowing and labor. So just wanted to let you know about that. And I have one more I can go to the August one. But we're going to need someone else for September, because it's...
Have we gotten...
No, I have heard from one individual that if no one has expressed any interest, that he may be interested.
Okay.
Which
Is he on parks?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's on the Lake Association.
Okay.
Oh.
And so I highly encouraged him to step up and be interested, so... I'll reach back out and see where we're at in that process, but otherwise I have no leads.
Okay.
I've heard nothing.
Yeah. I can go in summers. It's on Wednesdays during the day, and I teach during the school year, so I can't miss class. Okay, that was it for me. Thank you.
I got nothing.
Nothing from me.
All right. We are on to item K.
Mayor, members of council, this is a discussion item for you guys to have at it. And if you have any discussion items related to the community survey, I did send this out on a weekly update probably a month and a half ago. And I apologize about the delay here, but I was going to have it planned on the June 24th council meeting, but that ended up being a longer meeting based on the agenda. And so we pushed it to this meeting, June 23rd meeting, I should say. So this is an open discussion for the council to have conversation around the community survey results that we received. I have every slide that was presented in the, in the community survey results that were given in the second meeting in May. And I'm here to coordinate and answer any questions. Otherwise, it's based on a weekly update response that we wanted to have a conversation. So take it away.
Anybody have any comments? I guess a lot of it I didn't see anything that really stood out that we didn't catch the last time. I think there probably could have been, I think next time we might want to add some questions regarding things we're currently looking at. And that would have been a good opportunity for example, organics or some other questions like that, but I didn't see anything that really shocked me.
The only thing that jumped out at me, there was a few mentions of more, the majority. Now, this is a little hard to, number one, there's only 400 people that were surveyed, so you really don't know, did you get the group that's more onto this idea, or, roughly 10% of the people in the city got to respond to this thing. So it's a real hard gauge to, in my mind, get a real grasp on what everybody really wants or how they see it. I mean, yes, you get a general idea, but 1 out of 10, what would it be? Yeah, 1 out of 10 is your response. Taxes are still a big deal. The questions were asked as far as would you support an increase in taxes for a few different things?
Yep.
Trying to get to that item, I apologize.
You're going to get there?
I'm going to try to.
Oh.
I'm going to try to get to the one. I cannot remember which.
There was one for parks and there was one for.
I think it was.
Harry, you're going to be in trouble. I don't know if you can build a fire station for $10 million.
114 was around the parks.
Yeah.
Because that's all they're willing to pay.
Yeah, it was something like a veteran, that's right.
Veterans Park was.
So there's a few things there that, you guys got to sharpen his pencil to get some of them amenities that they are willing to pay for, but they're only willing to pay so much.
Yeah, that one was.
This is what they increased for, and then the dollar amount for park improvements was that.
Right there.
Yep.
Can you go back to that last one?
This one here?
Yeah. Yep. Did that splash pad move at all from that? From the
That
previous
splash pad
one?
moved quite a ways down, actually.
Yeah,
that's what I
it went
thought.
backwards. Yep.
Yep.
I think it was number 3 in 2024,
Yep.
and I think now it's like number 8 or something.
Yep.
Is that because there's more of, there's more options closer in other cities? Like, have other cities added splash pads, and so it feels like, there's one close enough? Or
Depends on who you call.
Yeah.
And just, when you're only getting 400 people out of 4,500, or out of 11,000,
Yeah, I think the amount of people surveyed and all that was very scientific and
Yep.
explained by the Leatherman.
it's a random call.
Well, they spread it amongst.
It's a good
I don't- yeah.
sampling.
I will say, Councilor Slav, there's no way it's a random call if the demographics show that it's that evenly across. That would have to be a heck of a random
Yeah.
to make the demographics to be that perfect.
So-
Now, I'm not saying that it's not, it's a sample. It's not, if you called everybody in the
Gives you
world.
an idea.
Yeah, if you had ever called everybody in the city,
Right.
you know how much that would cost? The dollar
Oh, I
would
know.
be crazy, so.
But anyway, that stepped out, jumped out at me is what they're willing to pay for.
Sure.
The off-leash dog park there's kind of an impromptu one forming across the street from me, at the little, I don't know, which,
The ball field?
yeah,
Or the-
Diamond Lake Diamond, I
Yep.
think. But it's just the
Diamonds.
one, right?
Yep.
It's not a ton yet, but there are people there with their dogs pretty regularly. And so a question, it's not a big deal except for one person uses a dog whistle and I have a dog who can hear it. And so that gets a little frustrating because I'm like, excuse me, sir. But is there a way, do we have some spaces like that could be turned into an off-leash dog park without too much additional? I'm just kind of wondering, because that is higher up on the list, but as far as actual dollars spent, an off-leash dog park, I mean, I have never taken my dog to one, so I know I've seen fancy ones, but basically it's a fenced-in space for your dog to run. So as far as like tax dollars, you could fill that need with a pretty...
If we have the land, yeah.
Yeah, we just need kind of a space to fence in. And so that one popped to me because a lot of people want it, and it feels like something we could actually do in an affordable way and a lot sooner than a splash pad, right? It's going to cost
Just
way
drive down to
less.
Stevens Park, they're off leash all the time.
They are, yeah. And so maybe so I guess my point is, if we've got places where it's kind of occurring
Well-
naturally, do we maybe designate them a little more formally instead of just letting it happen
Off-leash
impromptu?
also kind of implies, at least to me, it implies the animals are safe from getting out, so it does have a fence.
Yes.
How is that Frisbee Park?
There's also one in
Yes.
Elm Creek Park, like 5 minutes from here.
It does get a lot of use
It
through the
does?
summer,
Okay.
yeah. I always see people down there one way or
Yeah.
another. Even up until the snow flies, they're still going down there.
I was just thinking if there's ones that are kind of naturally forming by, like, without anything is just happening, can we take one extra step to put a fence and maybe dedicate that space to it? It's higher on the list, and it could be a very affordable thing for us to do. That was why.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, something to think about potentially with that one would be something on the second half of your Dayton Farms Park on the south side.
Yeah.
There is only a baseball field planned currently on the south side of that Dayton Farms Park, which is on the DCM Farms corner, which is the southeast corner of that. There's another 2.5 acre spot on the Sundance Greens side of things that doesn't have designated anything. I think right now it's just currently natural area and or maybe even a small Frisbee golf course, but that could be something that the council looks at since it is a 10-acre park and it has parking available, which is unlike another neighborhood park that we may have. That might be something the council could look at doing in that little area, and it wouldn't be very expensive. We don't have a ton of dollars planned for that second half of the Dayton Farms Park, so it could be something that works in that budget, as an example. I do know there's one in Elm Creek Park Reserve as well at the end of whatever the Elm Creek Road is through the
Right.
parkway, so, or the park itself, so.
I just, again, things we
agreed.
could hit cheaply, but are higher up on that list.
The canoe launch, is that something that, I haven't looked at it yet, really.
There's progress.
Yeah, but is that something that could be used as a fishing pier? Or is it kind of not, it's too wonky crosswise to?
I think potentially it could be used as a fishing pier. And I think in the master plan, there were some other areas that they had designated as fishing piers.
I thought there was one right, not far from the
Yeah,
state.
there was two, I think, that they included in there. I think it potentially could be used as a fishing pier.
Pretty shallow there.
Yeah, well,
Maybe there's
pretty
fish.
shallow all along Dayton, so,
Right now it is.
yeah. Yeah, any of those.
Like I say, I just had a couple of comments, and to tag on to Scott, I think with what we're looking at with the long-term plan in terms of city facilities, and what, from this survey, the public's appetite to fund things, we've got a pretty big tilt. And so that's something we're going to have to really continue to look at, because it's obvious that the residents are not anxious for a big bonding bill and the associated taxes that would go with making those payments. So we've got an issue there, and I think it comes out in the survey, and we haven't solved for a lot of this yet. Even though we've got some time, it's a couple years out, but we do have that tilt. Where else? Well, you can come back to me. I'm just trying to get through my notes here to see what's not been talked about.
Anybody else have any more comments?
I guess the other thing I would like to say is that I do take this survey as valid. You know, no surveys 100% of the people.
Can't do it.
Right, and there's a lot of statistical know-how that goes around what's a valid survey and what's not. And I think that this company checks those boxes. And of course, there's a margin for error, but I think that we're not using any of these things as absolutes, but certainly this can be a pretty strong guide for us on what the residents are thinking.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I do think it's worth pointing out that generally the residents are happy. Like,
Seem like it.
and I think that there needs to be a shout out to city staff, the fire department, the police department, public works, parks. Like, the work is being like seen and appreciated by our residents, and that's because you guys do great work. So
Yeah, it seems like they're pretty happy.
thank you for the work you guys do. But yes, we're gonna have to think about that. Like, they're happy, but they also don't want to spend any more money. So that is going to be,
You want to spend less money.
yeah, that's going to be that push and pull. And what I don't want to get caught in is we wait until they're unhappy, and that's when they're willing to spend the money, right? Like, because I think part of why I can't, this is speculation, but if things are going really well, and I'm happy with the services I'm getting, and someone's like, do you want to spend more? I'd be like, why? Like, I'm spending this much money and I'm happy with what I'm getting. Why would I spend more if I'm already happy with what I'm getting, right? Like, and so I think there's going to be this point that people aren't necessarily going to say they're willing to spend money until they're really disappointed with the services. And we don't necessarily want to wait. Like, we don't want to wait till we get to that point. So I do think we have to, like, message that as well, is that, like, you're happy with how things are going because we're still funding things, but at a certain point your happiness is going to go down before.
Keep the pendulum right in the middle.
Yes, exactly. So we have to, but that's the job of the council and staff to, like, figure out how to do that. But they don't want to spend the money, yes, and I appreciate that. It's our taxes too. I don't want to spend it too, but I also want to balance that.
Well, it'll end up being the same situation we've been dealing with, where we're behind on infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so we have to find that happy midpoint where we're putting things in place ahead of the crisis.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
You want any comment from the group?
Come on in.
Keith Grover, 113th and Fernbrook. I almost forgot where I live. A couple of things on the survey. I don't know what it cost, but I'm guessing too much. The number of people surveyed out of our group, I think, is way too small. I know what the survey folks are going to tell you. Dealt with them before. I had professional surveys done years ago for groups that I represented, anywhere from 500 people to 10,000 people in a group, and found out that for the use that I was using it for was asking people what they wanted in a particular agreement that I was trying to negotiate. The more people you talk to, the more accurate you're going to have. The easier it is to put together a plan to try to fulfill those needs for those people. I don't think 400 people out of 14,000 gets us there. My experience just proves to me that that's just not right. There's too many people in the city that we didn't ask what they wanted on any subject.
We're not at 14,000 yet. though.
Well, close.
12.
We're close.
11.3.
Let's
Next
just
week,
say we're in the
right?
10th still.
Yeah,
I think that from my own experience, getting flyers to people that have the survey on it, whether we have to mail them to them, whether we put it on the city website so that people could sign in, put their name in, where they live, here's the survey, fill it out and send it back in. I think that would get us a whole lot more surveys back to the city.
Yeah, but then
Now, I
you will
don't-
have a bias.
Pardon?
I would guarantee you, you'll have a bias then.
Well, you get the responses from the individuals that are concerned about the city. If you call that bias, I guess then you can call it bias, but I don't look at it that way. If you ask people that you represent what they would like in the city, and they tell you, I don't know that that's biased. I mean, everybody has an opportunity to do that. In this survey here, they surveyed 400 people. Did they actually talk to 400 people, or were there 400 people on their list that they called and some answered and some didn't? It was, my understanding, it was phone call based, correct?
Yeah.
We'll never know that answer.
What was the response?
Well, it was,
How many did
Yeah,
you?
no, for
that's
every,
how many people they talked to.
that's how many people they talked to.
Yeah.
400 people?
Yep.
Okay.
Do we know how many they called?
There was a non-response rate of a certain percentage. I don't have it on here, but it was presented, maybe it was on here. There was a non-response rate, and so it would be like, okay, so they called somebody and it meets a demographic or whatever they're
Yeah.
looking for, and that person didn't answer. They will then call the next person who meets that same demographic, so that we're getting 400 touch bases. We might call 600 people, or just as an example, or 500, or whatever that number is. I mean, I didn't call any, so I don't really know, but.
But my only question in doing it that way is that with all the scams that are coming through on phone calls nowadays, I wonder how many people would look at that and say, I don't know who that is. I mean, I do that at my house. I look at the caller ID. If I don't know who that person is, I go, well, maybe they'll leave me a message if it's important, and I'll call them back. In that situation, people that are surveying, they don't leave messages. They just hang up, and all you get is a click on the phone. So you're missing those folks doing that. If
They
you
do
put
leave,
some-
they do leave a message, just so you are aware. That's what we've
And
been
it's
told.
a
is that-
scheduled survey, so
Yep.
it's not just a phone call and saying, hey, can I ask you a few questions? It's
It's
actually,
always
this will
scheduled.
take some time, we'd like to schedule this with you.
Well, that's good that they do that.
Yep.
But I'm still skeptical of people that call me on the phone because I don't know who they are. And maybe that's just me.
No, it's
But in this day, yes, in this day and age, I think you have to be careful with that. I think if we put something in people's hands, whether we mail it to their home, or whether we put it on the website, maybe we do both, we can get a better handle on what people actually want in the city. And for those of us, specifically you guys, that make the decisions on whether to go one way or another at any specific subject, I think that's important that you have that information in front of you. The other thing, dealing specifically with the survey, I would agree with Mayor Fisher that I think the surveys that they put together like that are just generic. I mean, that's what was always provided to me. They put a little bit of stuff in there that makes you think that they did it just for you. Dude, they got that on their computer, all they do is push a button, pull it up, and put Dayton on the top of it, and here's the spiel to go through. I think we need to be more specific to the issues that are facing the cities of Dayton today, and the issues that we know are coming up tomorrow or the next year. Like Scott always talks about, 2 years from now, we got a nightmare coming up with trying to pay bills. I don't want to take too much of your time here, but those are the things that just popped into my mind. Having 30 years of surveying people and trying to figure out what they want, if you don't ask them, you can work your butt off and do something that you think is great. If it's not what they wanted, they're going to tell you at some point. In my situation, they just turned down the contract that I negotiated for 2 months for them and spent all that time and effort. In your situation, it's different. They go a completely different direction. And
Are there specific
Those-
things, results in the survey that make you think that it didn't capture people's opinions?
I haven't studied it specifically enough to be able to, to pinpoint specific items, David. I'm just talking about my experience in doing surveys and reading through the thing. It's just too general in nature for people to actually understand what you're asking them. That's my fear.
I don't downplay the survey itself. If you called another 400 people, all of those results are going to be different.
I don't think there'll be much different.
The percentages are going to change.
I don't know if I think it would be different, but I do agree that the questions, they're all very vague. They're all very up for,
Yeah, a
I
lot
want to
of
say,
them.
interpretation, if you will. And again, I'm not downplaying the survey. I do think that we've gained some valuable insight as far as like, I agree with the off-leash dog park and those kinds of things. I think that's very valuable. But telling me that, you know, how's your experience with this department or with this, it's very subject to, what do you mean by experience? Like, none of it is actually, I think, what I wanted to know. I think, again, there's value here, but I think that if we really are going to spend the time to ask questions, asking
36 or something,
49?
maybe.
149 questions is, I can't say that word. That's crazy. That's a lot of questions, first of all. And again, you could have, the idea of asking more targeted specifics may give more actual insight and actionable items, as opposed to, yeah, it's really great that everybody loves Dayton. I love Dayton. We all love Dayton. And there were some really great things that we're doing, but I don't know that it gives us real direction to make decisions based on what we have in the survey. And I will also agree with you that, you know, I put out surveys for work. We asked about end use in people's houses, like how many, you know, electric efficient, whatever you have. And our survey is like 12 questions, because once you get into the second one, they're out the door, and we do a postcard. And then if you don't respond to the postcard, you have your specific little code. You follow it, and we put it in the newsletter so people know this is legitimate, it's not a scam, like we put it everywhere. And then if you don't respond to the postcard, we send you a paper copy. So we don't do phone for that reason of people don't answer the phone anymore. So I guess this is my rambling way of saying that I see the value, like we got something out of this, but how can we do it better next time? Can we shorten it? Can it be more specific? Can we spend more time on those things? And I mean, I don't know how city surveys go, if this is just the standard, because it feels like it is. It's a cookie cutter standard.
It looks like it to me, yeah.
We control F'd and put Dayton in there. And then there's some things that are specific, but having 149 questions that's like Looney Tune.
Right, after the first 100 people's eyes gloss over.
And they're like, yeah, I'm happy, yep, it's great, keep going. I'm not saying every person did that. I also, the whole sample size versus getting specific demographics, like, for the surveys that I've done, that's not how we looked at it. I wasn't looking at, I need half women, half men, I need half this, half that. I collected that information to say, like, what is your gender? How old are you? Do you rent or own your home? Like things like that that do give me the demographics, but I'm not out searching for 50% have to be women, 50% have to be men.
You should be, for proper sample sizing.
I pay a company to do it, but...
Well, then that's what your company is doing. So you have to, otherwise, if you don't have...
Ours is household, so it's not about...
But you have to have a representative sample, otherwise, like, so you can't just, it's one of the problems with a lot of studies, if, like, drug studies, you test a bunch of 18-year-old college dudes, and then you're like, this drug is good for 80-year-old women. No, it's not. You tested a bunch of 18-year-old college dudes. Like, you have to have your sample has to be representative, or you can't draw any conclusions, and they did that. So they did do that. They have a representative sample of our city, and they will do that, whether 400 is enough or not. I'm not saying there's not room for improvement, but it was a representative sample, and that is an important part of studying, and that is one of the issues with just putting out an email or putting out a flyer or whatever, is that you rarely get a sample that is representative of the city when you do it that way. It's very hard to get a representative sample
Does it
that way.
have to be based on gender, though? I guess
That's one of. It's not the only thing, but yes.
We do it based on your usage, so it's your usage is within this, and so we're getting all of the different levels. So I don't necessarily care what your gender is at that point. I care about how much electricity you're using.
But it's one of the things. It's also like age, right? You can't just ask. I mean, if you only ask 65-year-old plusers, that's a different demographic than if you ask 18-year-olds. You have to have the full. That's what a statistically, like, you have to make sure that you are sampling a representative sample of your population. And gender is one of them, age is one of them, how long you've lived in the city is one of them. These are all things that they looked into to make sure that it was a representative sample. And it is in fact a representative sample. Whether we want an additional number of representative sample, that's fine, I'm not arguing that. I don't think though that the numbers would have changed significantly. Would they change a little bit? That's one thing I was looking for is, did they give us the margin of error?
Plus or minus 5%.
Yes. So basically, all of these numbers are within, so some of the things are close enough that yes, if something was 80% versus 74%, those could easily flip-flop. But if something is 80% and 30%, no. So when we're looking at like those top 5, those could easily switch around, right? But when you're looking at the top 2 compared to the bottom 2, they're not going to move. And so that's what the margin of error is so important for, and people tend to ignore things like margin of error. So
I'm not debating that. I think the questions were
too many.
Too many, and
too many. I'm 100% with you on that. Too many questions.
I think there's that piece of it, but there's also the benefit, and for sure, a lot of the questions are canned, right? They're doing this survey all over town, and they're asking the same questions. And the benefit we get from that, and we lose maybe precision in how, the answers we get, but the benefit we get from that is that we've got comparability to other communities, because they're asking the same dumb questions there too.
Yeah,
and so, in terms of looking at trends and how we compare to other places, that's the only way you get that, is to ask the same questions. So I think we could debate it all night, and I also know that none of us are actually experts on this. So that's why we have to find a company that we trust and run with it. But we have what we have. And
I just, thanks for the time. I just thought I would throw my 2 cents worth in for whatever they're worth based on my experience of serving people for the last 40 years. But it's a good point. And I would leave you with the thought of ask the right questions.
Yeah.
And if you want to know what the city or what the citizens want us to do next year or the year after, get more specific in what we ask. And I would be scared about what Councilman Fashion just said, is ask dumb questions, get dumb answers. But I mean, they're too vague. You need to be more specific so that you guys have a better handle on what they want us to do tomorrow and what they want us to do next year. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we kind of beat this up.
Yep.
Any other comments about it? On the item at all?
Do you want us to motion?
Yeah, Mayor, Council, city staff, and myself stand for any questions they have on that. Appreciate the conversation around the discussion, because it was requested by a majority of the council, and sometimes those conversations are hard to have, but the only way to put it on the agenda is for you guys to be able to have a conversation on it. That's what we're here as staff to do, is to be able to put those things on there. So I appreciate the conversation, so we'll stand for
I got
questions.
a question on page 105. It says admin vehicle. You don't have one.
It is not, Councilmember Solonic, it is not specifically my vehicle. That is a vehicle that sits out back for all City Hall. And so it's for everybody to use at City Hall. So it might be, the receptionist is going to a meeting. That might be Amy running for city clerk stuff. It could be a number of
When we
different
went to the
things.
City on the Hill thing.
City on the Hill thing, yep, you rode with me on the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not my vehicle. You're correct. It's called the admin vehicle because it's both for the administrative staff.
I have a couple things, just questions. I had asked about the bank fees. We got charged. Can you clarify for?
So you'll consist those. Great question, Councilmember Ben Aston, to address them. So we'll get I think it's like a $4 bank fee charge, and they'll call it a light charge or charge fee back is what it's called. That is if somebody has insufficient funds. So if they give us a check or and then it bounces, we get charged for that from the bank. We then charge back that fee plus, I think it's a $36 admin fee for our time that it takes to get it back in the system and whatnot and reversed. And that's listed on the fee schedule every year. So that's what that is. And then you will see consistently 2 charges for $25. One of those is our remote deposit for checks. So that's a machine that, so we don't have to run to the bank to deposit checks every day. We get checks every day, so we do a deposit every day, and that remote deposit check thing costs us $25. If it goes bad, they give us a new one, so it's kind of like a rental program, and it also helps us be more efficient at staff level. The second $25 is related to our check imaging program that they do. So we had an issue, or have seen an issue, with people writing over checks or saying that, they get a check, or it'll be to, I don't know, pick a company, it'll be to No Hennepin School District, and they'll somehow get a hold of it and they'll white it out or erase it or whatever, and it'll go to Billy Bob. Well, our bank provides a service for $25 to verify that the check that we got actually goes to the spot we got it to. It's called an ARP system, and so we send that off to the bank and give them a file of our checks that we just cut, and they just verify that those are the actual checks that people have. We did have one happen probably 3-4 years ago now, where somebody had whitewashed a check on our behalf, and they took it out of Comfort Matters mailbox and forwarded it to themselves, and the bank covered it for us. It wasn't on us, but it was oh my gosh, we should probably figure out something. So that's the $25 other fee that you'll see, and you'll see them both as bank fees, but that's what they are.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
And then also, I think you mentioned also, it comes up almost every year, but a lot of money is moving around with Ellers, and so can you clarify what that is for anyone who is also curious?
Sure. Yeah. So this is typically twice a year. I think you get the question more in the beginning of the year because it's a couple of $1 million that we send to Ellers, but twice a year we always send our bond payments to Ellers, and then they process our bond payments, and it's always in January and in July because they're due in August and in February, and those line up with the tax payments. And when we receive those settlements, we receive the settlement in July, so that's when the August payment is done, and then the following year we always get the money in December, and that's what pays for the following February's one. So those just based, it's always twice a year. I get the question almost every time from council, and that's good that you're paying attention. I mean, I appreciate that.
But clearly we're not, because we don't remember your answer.
No, that's okay. But Ellers is our bond counsel. You also remember Jason Arsveld. He does a lot of our financial consults and stuff.
Yeah.
That's just the company that we cut it to, and then they cut the checks to whoever it needs to go to, whether that's a bank in New York or whoever's holding our bond.
Out of all these bond payments, none of them dropped off, did they?
None of them dropped off. The next one that'll drop off is 28. There'll be one that drops off and transfers over to another bond. So this is related to the water tower and all the, I should say the water tower, but all of the utilities in the northeast area was done back in 2007. And we refunded it and refinanced it in 2014 and 2015. And so because of that, the payments adjust a little bit, where in total it's about $1.3 to $1.4 million a year, somewhere in there, and they adjust between which bond we pay. So currently we split them 50-50, and then one bond falls off, and we just essentially snowball effect it, put it into the other bond to pay that one off. I think that one comes off in 2029 or 2030. So it's a couple years after that, but nothing will fall off for a little while. We don't have, we don't have a ton of debt, to be honest with you, comparative to communities around us. We don't have a ton of debt, so.
My goal is to remember your answer for next time.
Good luck.
Thank you, that was all I had.
I just have we've covered these in the past, but there's a 4K bill for Kingsview streetlights. How does that work? Is that a whole year in that area, or what? How does?
I think what it is a bunch of different street lights that are all combined together in that one, under that one address.
Okay. Correct.
And that's
A month.
a month?
Per month, yes.
Month, yeah.
You remember what page that's on?
74 of the packet.
Yep. I think this is the one that came up last time too.
Yeah.
And we did a research on it, and I think it was like
Yeah, I think
There's a whole bunch that
80
go to
or
that
something
one.
lights or something like that, or
Well, up above there's a 2,700 for streetlights, but it's
that
kinda
one is
generic.
related to the south side of town. I think that one's down in the Wicked Industrial Park area.
Yeah.
Man, I don't remember. Let me. We can send some more information out, because I know we've talked about that Kingsview streetlights one, because it's come up before of like, holy cow, how do we
Why
have
is that so high?
$4,000 bill? But
Just
I know it's not
don't get
one
it.
streetlight. I think
Yeah.
it's like 80 or something
Yeah,
streetlights.
it was a big number of streetlights, and it came down to a more reasonable number when we figured it out. I think it came out to,
And maybe we can provide a different description, because, so these descriptions are in the system pre-recorded, because we have the bill every month. So instead of recording it and taking, time to put in every single thing over and over again, we just put in a template and said, put the dollar amounts in there and call it a day. So
And are
we'll take a
those-
look and see. And maybe I can adjust the description in that template.
might date me, but these are not sodium lights, right? These are incandescent type? They're not LED, are they?
It can be a combination of both. Depends where it is. I would imagine the newer ones will be LEDs. The ones in Wick, we've got a combination of LEDs that we've replaced as they've gone
So
out.
as lights get replaced, we should see that come down quite a bit.
We did look at doing it before, but it was super expensive, but it might be more reasonable to do it
convert
now.
more.
I think we looked at about 3 years ago. Was it 3 years ago, something like that? We looked at it and it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
amount of
I
money.
don't doubt
Like the
that.
cost savings to get it
Although
back was like ridiculous.
LEDs
but-
have come down tremendously in the past
And that's what I
couple
mean. So
years.
maybe it's something we look at now. Because 3 years ago or 4 years ago, they were crazy. And that's
Maybe,
with
yeah.
COVID times too.
Or
So
does it also wait until we're doing something like a project on that road, you know?
Potentially.
And
Or
then,
replacing.
Yeah.
bulbs.
And that's what we've been doing as they replace them.
Yeah.
I think initially we had to replace the whole unit because the LEDs wouldn't fit in the old heads, and I think that they are more compatible now, so we don't have to buy the whole unit.
that makes sense.
Okay.
I'll make,
As long as we're on electricity, on that same, on that same page, Connexus for $2,655. It says for irrigation, is this Parks irrigation, or is this a well house, or what is that?
That was a new installation that we've had. That's the their cost for hooking it up to the electrical and putting it and providing a meter.
So that was the cost to get the electrical
Yeah.
connected to the irrigation systems or system?
System. It's just one on Iron Gardens as you go in at Berkshire Lane and that area around the entranceway there, and the storm pond to the left there. There's some irrigation in there.
Is that around that pump, or that,
It's around the
Pond?
storm pond to the left there. As you go in, there's a storm pond.
on the left side? What
On the
about
left. We did extend to the right. We still got to put some heads in there, but that's just down the grass boulevard there.
Because that's, yeah, I had a couple of residents, it looks like weeds.
Yeah,
right? So,
that's because
and I figured you just haven't caught up to it yet.
Yeah, we've only just got the electric to it, so
Okay.
that's why it's not been irrigated yet.
I had one other, then there's, well, more than 75 of these landscape escrow releases on this particular one. Do we physically assure that, you know, the required landscaping for all of these houses has been done?
Yeah, I go out there and do a check on every home.
Okay, so they've been verified.
Yes, and there's a number of things that I check on there.
Thank you. I just wonder when there's a batch that, you know, they put in 50 of them.
It was good
it's-
because they were all in one street and they were all there at the same time, so I could just go one after the other, whereas before, you know, they'll come in here, I'll have one in Sundance, one in River Hills, and, you know, I'm traveling all over. But when they come in batches like this, it's an easy process for me to go and do it. And plus, these ones were builders that I've been working with over the years, so they understand what I'm looking for, and they've got it right before I get there.
All right, thank you. That's
Okay.
all.
Anybody else? Motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
No more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. On to item M.
Yep, good evening, Mayor and members of council. In front of you is a consideration of a city vehicle use policy. Some background information is the city does not currently have a uniform city vehicle use policy that lays out the safe and effective use of city vehicles. Vehicle use policies are common items amongst cities. When I did ask a number of cities for their policies, a number of them have a city vehicle use policy, and I believe we should be no different. We probably should have the same policy that everyone else does, or very similar. Now that all employees have access to city vehicles, it's also a great time. So before we didn't have the administrative vehicle in the back, we also didn't have every employee have an ability to use a vehicle, say like the community event specialist position and stuff. Now they're being able to utilize a vehicle with public works and stuff, so it's very imperative that all employees know what the guidelines are for the use of those vehicles. It establishes a greater understanding of the take-home vehicles as well, and what the terms and conditions are for those that are not explicitly stated in the labor agreements. This assigns responsibility of those take-home vehicles to the city administrator or myself for operational purposes. This also establishes check-ins for take-home vehicles in terms of mileage and location. It establishes the tracking of the vehicles and the use of that tracking to assure accountability, how the use on the roadways overall within the city happen, and then also for the safety of the employees and also our assets. and it has an acknowledgement form for vehicle use in take-home vehicles to ensure that all employees are aware of the current policies and procedures for these assets. When I did ask a number of communities, I think I asked, I don't even know how many, a dozen or more, 3 of them had take-home vehicle policies in some form or fashion. I took bits and pieces from every one of those policies, mostly from the city of Newport, which is significantly smaller than us, is the one that I utilized the most. They had the most comprehensive take-home vehicle portion of the vehicle use policy. Otherwise, I took the city vehicle policy from every other community that I got from when I did. This has been reviewed by the city attorney. She made adjustments and changes that she felt needed for our liability purposes. And I will stand for any questions.
In the general city vehicle use policies, E, it says city vehicles are not personal vehicles of the employee and are not to be used for personal use except as authorized by city administrator. Personal use of an employer provided vehicle may subject an employee to additional taxes unless it is an exempt vehicle. I was wondering if we also wanted to put in mileage. So like if you're using it for personal use, then you should also pay the mileage that you used like as a
Sure.
As a thing. So that was,
I think that was addressed in there.
yeah.
Somewhere I didn't mark the line, but
Well, so that's what I talked to Zach
For
about.
like, if I use my personal vehicle, I get reimbursed mileage.
Yeah.
If you're using a city vehicle,
You gotta undo
the
it.
other way.
Yeah.
Correct.
And it is.
That's what I understand it to be? That's
Yeah,
okay.
and it is there in the, because there is something about that in the take-home one about mileage.
Sure.
It just wasn't in
It should
the
be in, it
general
should
use
be in
one.
both.
Yes,
So,
yes.
okay. And that was item E, you said?
It was item E under the general use one, because there was something about mileage in the take-home one. So that was the other thing, is that they didn't match. Where was that in the?
page 2 of the policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then for the tracking thing, I also, and again, I talked to Zach about this, we probably will also wind up getting a discount on our insurance for using a tracking thing in the vehicles.
Not currently.
But we should ask about that, because I just personally switched insurance companies and they want to make me use a tracker and will give me a discount, and I refuse because I refuse to live in a surveillance police state.
Yeah,
and so.
our current insurance doesn't offer that program at this time.
Okay.
We don't have any.
I did follow
Okay.
up with that based on your email earlier, just to ensure if we can get back a response
Okay.
for the council
Yeah.
meeting. They don't currently, but doesn't mean that they won't in the future.
Okay. So something to keep an eye on.
It's not gonna hurt us at all.
Yeah. So those are my only two things. Otherwise, in general, I think it is important to have a policy like this in place.
The tracking information, is that, who has access to that?
It would be the supervisors, so any supervisor that has vehicles underneath them, and then also would just be my city administration, so it'd be Amy and myself.
Okay. I have no problem. I just was curious.
Yep.
It's a government vehicle. I have no problem. Let everybody have access. But I did have one other question.
Can I ask a question in
Go
the
ahead.
same vein as that?
Yeah.
How are we holding on to that data and for how long? So like how, when you're saying tracking.
Great question.
Is that, like what does that actually look like and what does the data management look like?
So we have contacted a couple of companies and a couple of the communities that have these as well, that already have take-home vehicles, and asked them what they use. So if they have a city vehicle use policy, they may not have a take-home vehicle policy, but they do have a city tracking process in there. Most of them use Verizon Connect, so that's who I would recommend using, and whatever their policy is for keeping the data, they would store all the data. It wouldn't be on our server or whatever, but they're going to track it based on the record retention schedule that would be held by the state, the general record retention schedule, and they're going to hold on to that for data and information. It goes as minute as every turn, how fast are you going, what's all happening on the vehicle, so on and so forth. It even goes as hard as like you have to have a fob to scan into the vehicle or whatever, and that knows who's driving the vehicle. So like, I'll use the admin vehicle as an example. It wouldn't just be tracking the admin vehicle, it'd be scanning every person that comes into the vehicle so that they know who's driving at that time, and that would all be stored in a system to be able to go back. I don't remember how long the data is, because I don't know that answer, but I'm happy to get it to you if that's what you're looking
I'm
for.
guessing they have different plans for.
Yeah, it's $18.95 a vehicle per month. And to sign up, you get 3 months free. So that's what their promo was currently. And from what I've heard from other communities, they say they absolutely love it. They appreciate Verizon Connect. You can track everybody, what's going on, what's happening, how fast they're driving. It can give alerts. It does the whole 9 yards of information. So.
I would like to somehow limit the take-home vehicles. I didn't, did you have, I didn't see anything in here as to, I would like to see it limited to the contractual requirements that we have.
So this policy would be moving those vehicles underneath myself to be able to have control over what's going on with those operational vehicles.
Yep.
One thing that I would note is that there would not be additional vehicles added to the take-home vehicles that aren't already established as take-home vehicles. I've communicated with the council with as many things as I possibly can, so I'll use an example. We wouldn't take a police vehicle that's utilized for day-to-day operations and say that's a take-home vehicle for you now to be able to do that. Doesn't mean that take-home vehicle might not be utilized for a take-home vehicle at some point for operation purposes, but if you're looking for that, then it would, taking away, that would essentially remove the requirement of the take-home vehicles and put it back to contractual ones, because that's listed on the page 4. It says that take-home vehicles shall be assigned to positions in accordance with in effect labor agreements and other circumstances. Only the city administrator can issue take-home city vehicles to employees. So if you removed the take-home vehicle, other circumstances, that would essentially take the responsibility away from me in that sentence. So, and I'm not saying that would negate the purpose of the take-home vehicle policy, but it would take any responsibility away from operations from myself.
I don't have a problem with take-home vehicles temporarily in use.
And I'm not going to say that they're not going to be permanent. I'm not going to tell you that. And
That's my-
I'm not going to lie to you, because I can't say that, oh yeah, it's never going to happen, because they're not going to turn permanent. And I also can't say that they won't be temporary either. I mean, they most certainly can be, but I'm not here to pull the wool over your eyes either.
Can you give an example of where you would see that warranted, like where an operational need would happen where you, as a city administrator, if we went with this policy, would issue a take-home vehicle to an employee?
Yep.
Can you give us an example?
Yep, so we could say maybe there's an investigation going on and the investigators need to take a take-home vehicle home, so they need to be assigned a take-home vehicle during a process. And that might be over a month, that might be in operations, that investigation happens for 2 months, 3 months. I don't know what that process is, I'm not 100% positive. There also could be things that come up where, maybe it's I'll use Amy as an example. She has to go to a conference 3 days in a row. There's no point in her coming back here to drop the vehicle off to go back home. I would just say, take the take-home vehicle for 3 days and call it a day. There also could be situations where, maybe it's the fire department and I say, Gary, you're going to be on vacation currently. I need you to, leave your vehicle here so that we can utilize it for the captain while you're out. Or giving it to Kevin as the assistant chief to say, hey, for the next month and a half, I want you to take it home. I want to see what changes in operations we have over that process in time. So those would be different things that I could think of for operations-wise, where currently I don't have that ability to adjust things, because if you use the in-effect labor agreement as it, then it's listed as those 4 or 5 or whatever the number is of people. That's it. It's only people who can get take-home vehicles.
But I guess I'm going to push back on you, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but if we were going to do something where an employee was taking home a vehicle for a month, why would that? Okay, because it's operations. I think I answered my question. I'm saying, why, if they don't already have a take-home vehicle, chances are we've already negotiated that, because almost every one of our employees is a union employee. So if we up here had said that would be beneficial or we should do that, we would have negotiated that in their contract. So my question then is why would that not come back to us to say, I think there's an operational need here where I think we should try out giving so-and-so a vehicle and see X, Y, and Z.
If it's in the contract, it can't be temporary.
But that's what I'm saying, is it's not in the, I'm saying ones that are not in the contract, after the contract. So
I think one of the goals of this is to not have them in the contract.
Yeah, the goal of this is.
I agree with you. I don't want them in the contract. I would take all of them away if we could go back, but we can't. But what I'm saying is I don't want to get in the position where we don't have them in the contract, and the council did that on purpose. We said, nope, we don't want to go any farther. We don't want any more take-home vehicles. It doesn't make sense to us. But then fast forward,
Now you have
we,
another person.
we come back to the negotiation, and they say, well, I've had a take-home vehicle for the last 6 months because Zach said it was okay that I take this vehicle home, and then we don't have a leg to stand on to say we don't want to give you one when you've had one for 6 months. I think there's twofold. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but I'm saying there's twofold there. Of one, we may never know that that's what's happening in the. I guess I have an issue with the giving free power to say that we're going to issue a take-home vehicle when we've been very specific about not having any more take-home vehicles than we absolutely have to have required by the union contract. I think I'm talking in a circle. Does this make any sense to you?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I think there's a, philosophical question here, because we are, by this policy, moving that authority to Zach for day-to-day operations and assignments. I think it, in my head anyway, it's still a separate question around what goes into the union contract and what doesn't, because we still approve that here regardless of day-to-day operations. I think, that the employee and the union can make the case when they're bargaining and say, this guy's got a vehicle all the time, we want it in the contract. And that makes it harder for us to say no, but it doesn't mean that we can't. That's really how we feel about it.
Well, and I think it also goes to, at a certain point you hire people to do their job and you have to let them do their job. But also that's where the tracking comes into play, right? Like, if we have this tracking software, we can see if something is or is not being used appropriately. And so if someone comes back and says, I've had this, for 6 months, and we can be like, well, how many times did you actually come back, right? Like, you had this take-home vehicle because supposedly you needed to come back all the time. Well, now we have this data that says you never once came back outside of your normal work hours. So no, you don't need it because it's laid out in here. Like it also lays out when you get to have a take-home vehicle, and one of them is having to come back outside of normal work hours. And so if we have this clear evidence that you didn't come back in a 6-month period, never once came back outside of your normal work hours, then why do you need a take-home vehicle? So
Well, even outside of work hours, a lot of other companies, you just get mileage. You don't get a car out of the deal. I just have a philosophical problem with sending home a car with people. And I don't know how right now we're stuck with the contracts.
I think this
I
will
just
help
don't
you.
want it to grow.
I think this will help your case with the contracts, is having this policy in place and having myself, and I don't mean to sound conceited because it's not, it's
The
fact
position,
that the
not you,
position,
it's the
yeah,
position.
the position has the ability to control operation for what's needed. And that's why this policy is in place, which is exactly modeled after the city of Newport is the one where, like I said, where I took most of this out of. This isn't the city of Edina that has, 50 vehicles. This is the city of Newport, which probably has, I don't even know how many Joe's got over there, maybe 10, I don't know. And so that's where it's coming from. It's not from, again, the purpose of the policy is to remove it off the council, get the council focused on, the larger, bigger picture. And still, I understand that operations things, it's not like I'm going to go, well, nope, that's not actually happening, or I'm not going to communicate with the council. I've communicated with the council about a lot of things that most communities do or not. I'm not sure.
I guess I will say my piece and then I will be quiet. I think I have an issue with, I think it's not meant to not be transparent, because it's not, I think, what we're trying to do here. But I think I have an issue with the fact that the citizens own all of these assets, and they deserve to know who has one, who doesn't. And we know that there's one here, and it's used for like day things back and forth. We know that. And I think that by giving the ability to say, if you live further than 10 miles from the city, you may request a take home, or you may take home a work vehicle with the decision to be made by the city administrator based on operational needs and efficiencies. I think that leaves a lot of gray area for things to get sticky, I guess, in my opinion. And again, like, I understand that it's operations, but I don't love the idea of not knowing where our assets are. And yes, we can track them, but I'm not going to be staring at the app every day of every single vehicle and say, oh, wait, hey, this vehicle left the lot. And none of us are going to do that. So I think that, I think that the problem that I have is that we could not know about something until multiple months later. And that, again, like, I think that we're a little more free-flowing with these things than I would like to be. And so for me, that's why if that was removed and we didn't have the ability to just say, yep, it's up to one person's discretion to say, go ahead and do this, I think that I would feel better about it. And I like the rest of the policy. I like the idea of the tracking. I like all of the other provisions in here. I like that it's very specific. It lays it all out. Makes it hard to do the wrong thing. But I think that that's my issue, and it probably will continue to be my issue. So I don't know that I'm going to move from that spot, personally.
Somebody else have anything?
I can see all sides of it. If you're going to a conference and it's 40 miles away, yeah, maybe you need to take the admin vehicle. However, the solution to that is just take mileage.
Yes.
That's what just about everybody does. I guess I'd stay with the mileage thing.
So don't pass the policy at all? Or are you suggesting the same thing that Councilmember Henderson is, which is remove the responsibility off of me and leave it on council?
I don't care if somebody takes the car from here to Cub Foods or if it's for a day. I'd want to know if they're going to have I see no reason that they would take it for a month. Zero. Unless, of course, all of a sudden Gary gets in an accident with it and totals out his car. Then you got to do something.
I'm not talking about just one vehicle. I'm talking about all the vehicles that we have with it.
I don't have a problem with you being responsible for, say, any of the scenarios you talked about. Somebody goes on vacation, somebody else swaps in, and now they have that vehicle for the next month or 2 weeks or whatever the vacation is. My problem is I don't want to see that next year now we're up to 5 take-homes or 6 take-homes, or I don't want to see that. And I don't know.
Yeah.
The rest of it I like.
Can we put a limit on it? Can we say for more than so many days, then it needs to be approved by the city council? Because I'm fine with that. I think what you're saying is much more, articulate than what I said. But that's essentially what I'm getting at, is that I think that this leaves room for us to fall into a situation where we do get to someone's had a vehicle for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, what have you. I just don't want to leave that door open. And so maybe it is that up to so many days, and then after that, we have to have council approval. Because if somebody's going to have a vehicle for a month, like that to me fundamentally changes how we're doing take-home vehicles. And that's what I'm not okay with.
I wouldn't even go for past 7 days because there's no conference that should be 7 days long.
Well, in the case of
in the other scenario,
or surgery or something like that.
Huh?
A surgery, if someone had a surgery, it could be a longer
Then
time
you're
than
not
2
taking
hours.
a company vehicle for surgery.
But someone replacing them. So like if
Someone
Gary-
else may be taking their vehicle.
Yeah.
So like just what we just did with the fire department when Gary was on vacation, his vehicle, and that's fine with me. That's not my issue. Like that makes sense to me, 100%. But I don't want it to get into this area where we've left the door open for extended periods and we have no idea. Because you can't tell me that any of us are going to be like, I wonder where this one vehicle is. Like, it's not going to happen until there's an issue or until we're like, oh, hey, give us a status update. And then all of a sudden, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I keep hitting your computer. This is my concern, and I want to close the door.
What if we did this? If it said, in other circumstances, only the city administrator can issue take-home city vehicles to employees for up to 30 days, or
I'm not good with 30 days.
up to 14 days?
3.
I wouldn't go past 7.
I wouldn't go past 7 either.
To 7 days? Is that a compromise we could all live with?
Is this for?
I don't know that if I have a problem with that way, but how does that work from a timing standpoint? Somebody's out for surgery. unexpectedly, right? They broke their leg skiing, I don't know what. But they're gonna be out for a while. So now, operationally, somebody needs to fill that role, and that role had the vehicle, and it's gonna be more than 7 days. We don't meet every 7 days.
Nope.
So how does that approval
That's why
work?
why I initially said 30, was why I said 30 to begin with.
Well, even the 30, we don't meet every day. So if we just met and now there's a need, we got 2 weeks. So, I mean, last time, Zach just sent out an email saying,
Yeah.
you guys okay with this?
Yeah, we say
I'm
yes.
okay with that.
Same.
And as far as a limit, I'm not too concerned about a number. I'm fine with a number, but I just don't want to see another permanent take-home vehicle.
Somebody gets a vehicle for 30 days and all of a sudden
It's 60.
and it's negotiated into, now I get one.
Right.
I would put a limit of 7 days on it. If it goes past that, you have to notify council. Somehow work that in there.
I'm okay with that.
Is that a compromise everyone can live with?
Yeah, as long as there's a mechanism so that we don't foul up operations because we only meet every twice a month.
Yeah.
It can be in the weekly update on.
Yeah,
Pete needs
I
a
guess there's a
vehicle.
way to do it. The other thing I wonder about is we're gonna have this tracking tool that can be used to review utilization. Is that something that we could get a periodic report on how, I don't know what would be in the report, but you're gonna be getting a lot of information.
I would think Verizon would have some.
Yeah, it's just asking that, I mean, figuring out what do we don't wanna know out of this? I don't, you know, I don't wanna know every turn and mile that everybody drives on these vehicles. But there are, you know, the sticking points, how much of it was, you know, actually used for work-related things. You know, that should be a real high number, right?
Should be a real high number.
But it would be something that you would be able to know. And if we got a report on that kind of data, maybe other things that are worth hearing about that are not, you know, get too far down into the weeds on this stuff, but I'm just trying to think, you know, what would make the council more comfortable with how these vehicles are being used? You know, and are we putting these resources in the right place? We're falling on your judgment, right, to do this, but it's pretty clear that there's people here that are not 100% comfortable with being totally hands-off about it.
Yeah, and so I'll say my piece and be done as well. I think it's a struggle for me to have it feels like I don't have a lot of trust with the council. That's just how it feels from the perspective of the council when I put forward a policy related to operations that a smaller community than us is using, and it's met with really, I don't know, I don't want to say it's crash, but like it's kind of crass responses of, you know, we don't trust the fact that the take-home vehicle is not going to be utilized for long-term.
It's not a trust thing.
But
it's a disagreement on policy.
Yep, and that's okay. Like I said, that's
And
just.
we're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. Like I said, just from my perspective, that's what it feels like. I feel with whatever policy you guys want to put in place, I'm happy to discuss it and glad I brought it forward because I think it's an important item, and I can have my thoughts too on things just like the council can, and I appreciate the conversation because I think it's important to have the conversations around what operations looks like, and if the council wants to limit the 7 days, then we would just note that in the policies. I don't know where we would put it, but anything longer than 7 days, it sounds like from the council's perspective to give an update to the council, at least on a weekly update or something that says, hey, this is going on for longer than 7 days. I'm happy to communicate. I've never once said I wouldn't communicate because I've done a lot of communication with the council, so.
Well, I think having the policy is important.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of good in here. And if that's, the compromise that gets us down the road on this thing, it's a place to start. If the 7-day thing turns out to be a headache for everybody, we can change the policy.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to approve with that minor adjustment.
I'll second.
All right. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. On to item N.
Thank you, members, Mayor and members of council. In front of you is a consideration of Resolution 29-2026, amending the employee recognition program. This is something that was discussed back in May, I believe. It took me a little time to get updates. There weren't a lot, but this is formalizing the existence of the employee breakfast, which has been an annual item since 2023, outlining the importance of the department camaraderie and noting a cap per employee to ensure the program can withstand growth in departments. This limits city staff for how many dollars are available for this program, with all approval having to go through me for any of the use of the dollars. And it defines more clearly when plaques will be provided for employees who retire from the city. I think it's a much better laid out program and provides cleaner guardrails for the term that the council's used in the past. I think it does provide those things, and also will provide stability long term with the departments that have continued to grow and fluctuate. So I will stand for any questions you may have.
I have a couple. How do we determine the $25 per employee?
So I took the amount that's typical for a lunch, which is $20 per the federal rate, and I added $5 for adding utensils and plates and napkins because I didn't want to downgrade departments to say, oh yeah, you can't get any paper plates and you can't get napkins and you can't get juice. You can only get food because $20 is $20. So typically when you get a little larger group gather, you can typically get a little better deal on stuff. So $25 still felt like it was reasonable, but not excessive. That was just my determination of dollars.
Sorry, can I keep?
Go ahead.
Keep going. So the resolution amends the employee recognition program and annual employee breakfast, luncheon, and outing. So this is covering all, because the police department has their own program, correct?
They would not now.
They would not
So
now.
this would supersede.
Yes.
So they would still have their wellness program?
Oh, yeah, there's-
Yeah,
That would
that's
only
what I'm like,
be.
wait a minute,
Sorry.
okay.
Wellness
That would
program is
not
different
be
than this.
utilized for anything camaraderie or any
Okay.
get together.
So individual departments would need to come up with their own programs.
Individual departments
Or
would
they
have
fall
to
under
meet
here.
So for any
Sorry.
outing, so for any outing related to that would, where the city would be paying for food and or get together, it would be limited to the $25 once a year for camaraderie purposes for the department, and it would have to come through me to get approval. So, for example, I know the police department has held an annual thing that they typically did a potluck. Well, I think it's important that the city provides that meal so that they don't have to worry about taking money out of theirs and, whatever else to come with the potluck. I think it's important. But it also would limit the fact that, I'll use, the fire department as an example, they wouldn't be able to do their annual boat cruise or whatever on Minnetonka because it would fall outside the $25 of camaraderie. Would they be able to host a thing here at the department? Yes, most certainly. Or go down to Daytona and get $25. Yeah, they could do
As long
that.
as it stays at the $25,
Yep,
that's fine, yeah.
correct. $25 per person. So
Right, right,
that's why it's a little
Per
difficult to put
employee.
it per employee. Yeah,
Correct.
because so like at a administration level, there's 6 or 7 of us, so that's only $150 or something. So I could probably bring in lunch for everybody here, and we can have a little luncheon or something. But for like the police department, they have 15 or 16 people. They might be able to do a little more than the $25 per person then.
Is there a
Or is-
way for, let's say, we wanted to do something more than that? Does it have to be already established within this program, or could that be something that we could do outside? Because according to the state auditor's office, it has to be a designated program approved by the city council, and it has to have those funds, so we couldn't go above and beyond that,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. Follow-up question to that, again, also in line with the state auditor's office, we cannot pay for spouses, and we cannot buy alcohol. And those are two
Correct.
things in here that, in my mind, I felt that maybe we needed to specify, because those are not common knowledge things, and I think that once you know something, you know it, and I don't know that everybody knows that.
I will tell you that every city staff member knows to not buy alcohol. I will tell you, spouse one is a new one.
The spouse, yeah, spouse, third party,
And,
or.
yes, so that would also limit, so I will say that previously, we've always invited Stantec as an example to those employee type events. We would no longer be able to do that either. So I was just made aware of this OSA policy. I don't know when it was made aware. 'Cause-
June 2025 was the last
Okay,
revision.
well, there you go, because I put this
Sorry.
policy in place in '21, and so I was just made aware of the June 20th,
They
2025
had
updates.
they had a
so-
2016 revision
Well,
before that.
There you go. So I used the 2016 version for the 21 one. And now that I know that, we could note in there that spouses and third-party contractors are not allowed to be participants of this.
I just
thing,
feel
so-
like it's one of those big things that the state auditor's office is very specific about, and I just want to make sure that, council's 5 years or heaven forbid we're not all here, what have you, that, you may not know to go and find those things because the statute is not super, those things are explicit, but other things are a little more fluid. And so the things that are explicitly stated, I think they should be in here.
Sure. Yeah, alcohol one, I can tell you right now, every city employee knows that just because that's what government is, but I'm happy to still put that in there if you
Well,
want to.
I'm just saying that I don't agree that everyone knows that, first of all. Second of all, I just feel like it should be explicitly stated.
Sure. And we can do
How much money
that.
are we talking about here?
For what?
The
Doc?
total.
The total amount, so the dollar amount that's currently in the budget is $8,000 for this specific employee appreciation program.
Okay.
Is that per department?
No, that's in total.
That's total.
That's total, $8,000.
That's where I personally would like to see the limit. I like the $25 thing. I just don't, no offense to nobody, I don't like the idea of $6,500 L&L mobile cruises. I think.
And that would be limited.
Correct.
That would no longer happen with
That
this
would no
policy.
longer happen,
Yeah.
which
So,
I think it's a good thing.
Could somebody donate though? Like, let's
Yep.
say I owned a venue, could I donate that to a department or to the city and then have the city use the fund? I'm just wondering, I'm looking for all the angles.
I
wouldn't think so.
don't believe you could.
'Cause we'd have to
I'd have
accept
to
the
ask,
donation.
I'd have to ask the city attorney on that one to
Yeah, I'm just
verify,
wondering,
but
is there an-
I
is
don't
there a way?
think they can because it has to be a dollar amount that they're given, not a service. So they could give, I guess they could donate, it costs $4,000 for an event that they want to host at, I don't know, pick a place.
Could
And-
Daytona,
Yeah.
because it's a local, or Sundance?
It could be anywhere.
Could they say, hey, we can host your event here, you can use the room for free, and then this money could be used on food? I guess I'm
So
just-
then that
Well,
would
that's
come to the
different.
council, to a donation that said the council would
Yeah.
accept a donation on
But does
behalf of.
that-
Or if they
Fund.
price it in a package. If they price it in a package, it's not a donation.
Yes.
If they say,
Yep.
come here, have an event,
And it's-
we're gonna hit you with this much money.
Yep.
That's.
And it
just-
comes
That's
out
it.
to $25 a person.
Yep.
And,
Then
yeah,
you're a
so
$25
there's no
person.
donation, there's not.
Correct.
But, okay.
Somebody
How did you-
could come at it a different way, though, so to get away from the fire department a little bit. So somebody's really grateful for services that the police department provided, and they said, I really want to do something for the police department. I want all these guys to go out for dinner some night or something. And so they make a donation to the city.
Correct.
And say, this is how I would like it to be used, but here's my check for this amount.
Yes.
Does that pass through this system? Is that still, I'm just, again.
I would
just
think it
trying
would
to
pass.
figure this
They're
out.
really
Not using
specific
tax
about what
dollars.
you can use it for too. It can't just be, it has
It's
to be.
gonna have to fall under the same umbrella, I think, as the
Yeah.
policy.
I think because there's the clause of having to have this program established with
Yes,
a
it could.
budgeted dollar amount, I don't
Right.
think we can legally accept it specifically for.
We could do it for this program, but it would not exceed the dollars that are already there.
Exceed the
So for example, right now, $8,000 comes out of the tax levy for this program. If Joe Schmo wants to donate $2,000 because they love the police department and want to donate, that then would then be a $6,000 hit on the levy, and then we'd have a $2,000 donation, but the expenditure would still be $8,000. Because that's what the council has established in that department line item program for the employee appreciation program. So it would just come from a different revenue source, so $2,000 would be able to go to a different tax levy item or whatnot, if that makes sense.
This is gonna sound really stupid, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If the pot, if you will, is $8,000 and the policy says that for a department gathering once per year for department camaraderie with a max of $25 per employee, does that math work out for how many employees we have?
That's what I was.
So-
But that's different than the,
Yeah.
Is the math mathing? Like-
It
So
is.
that math is about, it's
that's about a department
think
doing
I
thing, not the
think I
overall
did-
city stuff.
correct. So So if you
Because
talk
the
about.
city still has the luncheon, the
Right.
city still
Yes.
has the
So
breakfast,
if you
that's
do
a separate
I did
thing.
75
Separate
people
thing.
And
times
it's all
25 bucks.
underneath the same
Yes.
bucket, though.
So-
The bucket's the same.
Yep, so 75 people is what I estimated at, 25 bucks a person, that's $1,875. Last year, if I looked at the employee appreciation program between the breakfast, I think we bought a couple times, we bought donuts for various departments. We did the Sundance lunch, or the Sundance luncheon at the end of the year, and we did the Top Golf outing. It was $6,000 last year, so the 1,875 plus the $6,000 is $1,000. That's how I got the number.
That's how the math.
That's how the math.
The math was not mathing in my head
Yeah, it
because I
does-
wasn't thinking all
It's still not
employees.
mapping for me. If it's $25 per employee,
Yep,
how'd you get the 8 grand?
so
next year.
that's 1,875.
Yep.
And then the additional items are, so there's one thing, that's one line item of
Oh,
the
you have,
8,000.
okay,
You
I
got
didn't
the-
catch that.
Everything's
That's-
included in the
yes.
$8,000. So that would mean the luncheon, the outing, the breakfast,
But-
and the department camaraderie things are all related, because department camaraderie is still important.
There's two
And I
separate
don't
things.
want to
Yeah.
mismatch that with where we're at with the, I'll use
Yep.
Councilor Salonis' example, the all in almost thing, like we're, we want to make sure there's a limit to it too, of dollars and whatnot.
I
So-
just thought 25 was a little weak, but now that
If-
you're
if
gonna
the-
have a big event.
So yeah, so if we have the
That's-
luncheon again, I think the luncheon last year
Yes.
cost us
$2,500 bucks, I think it was.
2,400 or something
Would
like
it be
that.
fair to say that there is the all-city recognition program, which is the outings, the luncheon, the
everything.
breakfast, the
Yeah.
outings, but then
Yeah.
individual departments, so Marty's Public Works guys can have their thing, that's
Yes.
capped at $25 per person for
Yes.
that thing. Fire department does their thing, police department does their thing.
Right, so-
And that's for them to be like, so they can go, and talk about people at City Hall and how they, well, whatever it is.
You
But
got it.
like, I'm thinking of my own job, like my math department, I want to meet with the math department. I don't necessarily want to meet with the whole college, but sometimes I do want to meet with the whole college, right? So, and sometimes we want to meet as a math department to talk about how,
And so, yeah, so the $8,000 current line item budget is not gonna be changed, that's the goal.
Yes, that's
And that would be here's
umbrella.
what's gonna be umbrella, and then everything falls underneath it is the 3 events and the department camaraderie
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
That's what the new policy would state.
Okay.
I'm happy to make the adjustment that Councilmember Henderson mentioned, which is explicitly saying, this does exclude spouses and third-party contractors and alcohol, just so that it's clear, so that it's not up for interpretation.
and it might be worth noting that that's coming from the state auditor's office.
Or as amended.
Or
They
As
changed
amended,
it,
so
but
like,
they don't have to.
it's
update
not that the
Right.
city hates your spouse. No, we don't want.
no, not at all.
But like, this is a law, everybody,
I
this isn't
can
just-
reference the OSA, because I must have looked at the same thing you did,
Yeah.
Councilmember Henderson, when I was
The
updating this.
statement of position.
Because obviously,
There you
like,
go,
we work, like, particularly, Stantec, Jason, like, you're here all the time, and so it feels bad to be like, you're not invited to our party
We
today.
just thought you were one of us.
But the state doesn't let us, so, but it'd be nice to recognize that it's not the city saying that we don't want your spouse there, it's that the state doesn't allow us to have your spouse there.
Right, so, motion
to
second.
approve.
With those changes,
Yeah, that's fine.
Scott and
I'll second.
Sarah. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0. Oh, man. All right, now we're going to closed session. Pursuant to MN Statute 13D.05, subdivision 3C3, a closed session shall be conducted to develop or consider offers or counteroffers for the purchase or sale of real or personal property, PID 31-120-22-33-0009.
This should last about a minute and a half.
Let's do that.
All right, so I'm gonna.
So are we not gonna have a
Otherwise,
bylaw?
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Oh, do you need a break?
I don't need it.
Well, we have to get
I
set
think
up
we'll be out of here in
anyways.
15
Okay.
What's
minutes.
that? You stop
I'm
the
gonna-
Zoom?
We have to get
Okay.
set up
Okay.
anyways. Okay. Closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statutes Section 13D05 subdivision 2B for preliminary consideration of allegations of charges against an individual subject to its authority.
We'll go into closed session.
Now we're going into closed session.
Now. Item Q.
I will say I got 10%.
The motion,
Employee. Oh my God.
you want to read the?
Yep, Mayor and Council, we are looking for a motion to approve the purchase agreement and approve the public infrastructure development agreement as written in the council packet.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, I'll give that to Dave. You need more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no. That one carries 5-0. Item R.
Mayor and members of council, we're looking for, based on the direction of the council, accepting a resignation. We also are requesting to post for, do you want two positions, the police officer and the CSO position? So as an amendment or an adjustment to that item R, we are looking to both take the resignation, which is directed by council, and also
Post.
post those two
Fill them,
positions.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, that is Scott, Stephanie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That carries 5-0, and we are on to item S.
Mayor and members of council, this is the item that was added tonight, accepting a resignation of the firefighter.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second, discussion.
I can't comment, or,
So I did ask the attorney, because she wasn't able to be present tonight, to help me with information, and the unredacted version that is sent to the council is not to be discussed during this item. If you have questions that are for the city attorney and or for me or whatnot, please reach out in whatever way we want to or can. But the city attorney did, that's what her note was, is to say that the unredacted version that was sent to the council is for
Private.
council and private data, yep,
Protected by law.
correct.
but
I will do my absolute best, because she's not able to be here, and she told me that she's not able to be here, so I will do my absolute best.
I guess it's more of a statement, and I'll make it brief. This entire process has been extremely disappointing and frustrating, and I think it sets a precedent for moving forward. And unfortunately, I don't feel that we set this individual up for success. And I think that that's on our side, and I cannot, I'm trying to be careful. I'm sorry to him for the process, for the way it was handled, for the communication, for all of the balls that were dropped, for what I feel is discrimination, and I wish him the best of luck somewhere else. And I just hope we learn something from this entire thing, which seems to not be our MO, but I'm really, really hoping that we learn something. So that's my statement, and we can vote now.
Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. That passes 5-0, and if there are no more objections, we will be adjourned. We're adjourned.
8:38.